Howdy y'all, I'm Parker Turney, AutoCAD specialist and heavy metal enthusiast. Today we'll be looking at how to make a miniature reunion tower. For those unfamiliar, Dallas natives usually just refer to this building as the Ball, and is probably the most iconic staple in the city's skyline. Standing 561 feet tall, Reunion Tower was completed in 1978 by Welton Beckett and Associates. I got the idea to make the model after designing some recessed lighting flanges at work. The shape reminded me of the observations deck's top and bottom pieces inside the geodesic dome. I've always been fascinated by the geometry of geodesic domes, and even wrote to the boys in Scuff Realtor for advice on making my own dome home.
A geodesic dome home?
He wants to build a geodesic dome home. He's a draftsman at an architect firm.
Yeah. Build a small one first. I would build yourself like a 20-footer first. Obviously, you're just gonna build the hexagonal panels and then you're gonna assemble it. Build a small one first, and then tell me what you do about wrapping it. I'd be interested to know. I would build one in a friend's property that they that they would just want to, like a she shed for someone. That's the way I would do it. I wouldn't build a huge one right away because you might fucking hate it.
Maybe one day I'll eventually get around to building one, but for now this miniature model scratches that itch. Quick disclaimer, although this model is not to scale, I'd guess it's close to 1:96 scale. I first begin with modeling the geodesic dome in Rhino. So Rhino, or Rhinoceros, is a 3D modeling program, and if you have a CAD background, it's pretty user-friendly, and I feel like the learning curve is a lot easier if you already know how to draw in CAD. And basically, I want to say at this point, I've already got the elevation of this top hemisphere already cut or divided into, I think, fifths is what it is, or probably actually eighths. And anyways, I'm lining up these curves to be, at the points of division. And at this point too, I'm about to have project turned on, which is that selection box down at the bottom. So bringing these over and just clicking them. Another thing that's cool about Rhino is it acts like CAD with the command line. So I will literally type project, and then once I've got that going, I can choose the item of what I want to project onto, which is that top hemisphere, and kind of voila, I get the shape going around there with each circle. And that's going to be kind of like the guidepost to get the rest of the shape going with those hexagonal panels, which actually kind of appears more like a star at the very top, which each triangle makes up that you can see. I'm using an array command, which will definitely come in handy later whenever we end up modeling the rest of this in Blender. But for now, it's also used pretty heavily as far as getting all the triangles where I want them to be, kind of almost looks like a honeycomb kind of shape. I think you guys will see too, there's a lot of practice models that I've made or failed attempts that are around on my workspace. So just kind of want to show you guys that there was a trial and error to this. Don't be afraid to, show your work and kind of keep notes off to the side. I think that can be important for backtracking later. You can also hide certain objects. That is an option too in Rhino, which is pretty cool. But we're just operating in wireframe right now because that way I can see kind of the guts of each component that we're dealing with. Once I finished the top half of the geodesic hemisphere, I just mirrored it and underneath put the shaft where it's the 3 columns that are underneath it, and that's what's actually printing right now on the X1 carbon. The X1 is printing the PLA material, which is basically just plastic. Usually you'll want to use supports, but this time I didn't have to enable them for some reason. One issue that I ran into was essentially the middle section that we printed is not tall enough whenever I put the top half of the hemisphere on it like this. As you can tell, it's a little bit lower, and definitely should look higher to look better. Again, this is not exactly to scale, but this discrepancy is enough to really bug me. And what we're gonna do, basically my solution, is to take one of the other backup flanges that we printed out for the recessed light can, and I'm just gonna shave it down, and it should be the proper height. So here we go. Sand it. Sometimes when I'm sanding stuff like the PLA, the 3D printer, you know, if I end up 3D printing something made of PLA and I don't want to use sandpaper, I will use a Dremel. Okay, I think that might be good enough. We can go ahead and see it, what that looks like. Kind of works. Kind of works. Remember, we're gonna still paint over it, but maybe, just maybe. Still a little funky, but let's see how it looks. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. So now we're gonna model the bottom piece of this tower. It's the base of the building. This is where you walk in and you ride the elevator all the way up to the top, to the observation deck, and it's pretty cool. There's actually a restaurant that they have up there, so I haven't actually been to it before, but who knows, I might pay them a visit sometime after this. We are using Blender right now. Unfortunately, I did lose access to my Rhino license. That's the reason for switching over to Blender. Blender is open source and free, which is really cool. And honestly, it's probably a superior program in a lot of ways because it's like a Swiss Army knife in the sense that it has several different functions that it can handle. I'm basically extruding these shapes after I've made like a circle, and then using eye to inset to get the smaller circle as seen there, and then just going back to extrude to raise it the way that I want to. That's a pretty helpful command. I'm actually really green when it comes to Blender, so I'm still learning my modeling style. I'm also alternating between different perspectives. So sometimes you'll see me go from elevation to floor plan, and I feel like that kind of helps as far as making sure that the model stays the shape that I want it to. There's also Control B that I'm using a lot to bevel the top edges, and it kind of gives it that smooth kind of finish that I like there up at the top. You can also see that I've already made one version of the model that's over there to the right. But the problem there is that it didn't have the divots that it has, which is kind of the ledge that keeps people from falling over. So I wanted to make sure to include that. I think that extra detail makes it a lot more convincing. There's also a vestibule that we've added right here that I'm going to Boolean union using the Bool tool, which you can add on in preferences, which is pretty useful. And now it's just going to be one solid shape. Something I forgot to include on showing you guys was how I got the buttresses to rotate all along the base of the tower. But that was pretty simple. After making the buttress and beveling the top part of it, I just applied an array modifier, multiplied that by 3, and kind of ended up scaling each of the level of buttresses. So we're going to look inside, and now that looks pretty messy because there's a lot of non-manifold edges going on, a lot of intersecting stuff, so we don't like that. To clean up the geometry, we're going to add a cube and basically put the object inside of the cube, switch over to wireframe so we can see what's going on. Make sure to apply the Boolean modifier to the cube, click self and intersect. Use the source object as the base itself. After applying, it might take a second, but you can take a look inside and see that the model is now watertight and ready for 3D printing. Another useful thing that I learned throughout this process was if you need good reference for any of the buildings that you're making, you can actually hop on over to Google Maps and switch the mode to satellite mode, and now we can see this kind of 360 view of everything. I'm using the Shift, Alt, and Control keys to be able to navigate where I want to. This was a huge help in trying to get things to look more accurate. Alright, for this next step, I just 3D printed the shaft of the tower, and it's split into two different models. So one model has everything pieced together, and then the other one is actually divided into 4 different pieces. Gluing this together with super glue was extremely difficult, but I just tried to power through everything as patiently as possible. Right here, I'm spraying everything with this black primer from Krylon. I think it looks pretty cool, and I picked it up from the hobby store. This is going to help with giving a base coat, so when we come back with future coats of paint, it adheres to the surface properly. You guys, I know you're probably tired of hearing it, but it's imperative you wear a respirator while doing this. I was being impatient that day and did not wear one, thinking that I could just cover my face with my shirt. Later on, I went to blow my nose and it was all black. So don't skimp on the respirator. Your health is important. Don't be a dummy like me. Even though I painted it all black, later on I came back with a gray primer and was able to build the colors to be lighter from there. I think it kind of helped accentuate the shadows though, so I was happy with it. Here I'm using an airbrush to be able to just kind of spray the observation deck. It's using a Titan Buff color right now. I gotta say, it's extremely gratifying to be able to bust out the airbrush gun and compressor and just lay down some coats of color on the model. It feels like all the heavy lifting is done on the computer with Blender and Rhino, and then printing it all out on the X1 Carbon, that once it gets to this point, it just feels like a major treat. You know, I get to see everything kind of come to life, so I really enjoy this part. Also, whenever you're printing with PLA, sometimes it'll make unwanted debris. So I'm taking some sandpaper and just kind of getting in between the wedges to sand off all the crap I don't want. If that doesn't work, I'll also take masking tape and get in between the wedges too. You can't really tell from the camera, but in person it's very noticeable. And after I'm done with that, I just load up the airbrush again with the Titan Buff color to bring back all the lighter tones and build it up from there. I forgot to record the part of me making this building in Blender, but it's pretty much the building that's attached to the tower base, and I was able to do that by using Boolean difference, which was extremely useful, and it kind of makes the relief of that shape. You can see right there how it connects. There's also 3 buttresses on each side, and believe it or not, the X1 Carbon failed to print 2 of them, so I had to print 2 off and then manually glue them on. I think it ended up looking pretty good though. Afterwards, I end up tackling the bulk of the tower by airbrushing the columns, as you can see here. I'm just using Titan Buff again. You might notice one thing that's inaccurate to how it looks in real life. There's these little bridges that go in between those open parts, but that was just too much for me to do and worry about. I'm also airbrushing the tower base, and masking all those little tiny buttresses would have been such a pain, so it's done freehand, and I'm kind of surprised how well they turned out. If you want to get finer details, definitely put the gun nozzle closer to what you want to paint. It acts a lot like a spray paint can, where the closer you are, the finer the line, or the further away, the wider the spray. And I'm also using a light gray that's going in between those buttresses, and it looks nice because it's sitting on top of that gray primer that's already been established. Next, we're going to do the windows, and I have a reference photo. Unfortunately, I don't have a proper material for the glass, so we're going to cheat this a little bit. I'm gonna color match using the eyedrop tool, and once I get a good color for the glass, I end up selecting it, expanding that selection, and then using a layer underneath to paint black, and that's how we get that outline. I end up copying and pasting to multiply. We're gonna space them out using transform, and that's gonna look nice and flush and keep the mullions the correct spacing that we want. Back at it again with the airbrush. I was super eager to use the spray again and ended up painting all that tan color on top of that titanium bleach that we already used, masking it off, and I think it looks really good. If there was any overspray, I didn't even mind it because the actual Reunion Tower does have a distressed look to it. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. Ironically enough, the next part was my least favorite. It was extremely tedious to get those windows on. I ended up using a spray, Super 77 adhesive, which I actually had to spray on a separate surface, which is this Sonic cup you can see. Otherwise, I ended up scuffing the side of it if you spray directly on top. But we end up wiping the back of the paper and just sticking it on to the actual object. Last but not least, I ended up using a crackle paste to make this texture for the ground. It kind of looks like concrete, and I'm really happy how it turned out. After it was done drying, I just gave it a light wash of gray and made sure that the wash kind of sit in between the cracks. This was my first time using crackle paste, and I'm really happy how it turned out.
I hope you guys enjoyed watching this process. I'm about to go full-time independent as an artist, so please like and subscribe to the channel. I'll even have my PayPal link in the description if you feel like tipping me. This miniature reunion tower will later end up as a prop in a music video for my band p.t.b.r.u.i.s.e.r. We're super excited for next year as we've teamed up with an investor to bring you guys a new album. More news on that soon, but personally I still need income for rent, bills, etc. Anyone that sends money through the PayPal link will get added to the credits of the next model making video, where I'll be showing you how to make a neoclassical style home with ionic columns. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. Y'all are a bunch of troopers. Hopefully it gives you guys some inspiration and ideas for your own projects. This one was really fun to make, and yeah, can't wait to catch y'all on the next one. Cheers and peace out.